Good evening, friends, and welcome to the Dreary Midnight Podcast. My name is Lisa. My pronouns are she, they.
My name is Celeste. My pronouns are she, her.
And tonight, we will be discussing the Uncanny Valley. Intro music.
Intro music.
For those who are listening for the first time, my name is Celeste.
My name is Lisa, and welcome to the Uncanny Valley where we're switching spots right now.
For long-time listeners of the show, you know that I regularly reference the Uncanny Valley.
Yeah.
It is my favorite horror trope.
Yes.
So let me ask you.
Yeah.
What do you know? And I'm sure you know a lot, but what do you know about the Uncanny Valley?
So, if I understand it correctly and recall correctly, also if you hear a tippy tappy,
It's
Clementine, the dog, is around with us, and is demanding scritches. So she's around. But so from what I recall of the Uncanny Valley, it's sort of a graph of things that, if you imagine a graph of things that like look normal or look kind of spooky or look whatever, the scale goes pretty steadily towards normal. The line goes pretty steadily towards normal as you approach things like a regular human appearance or whatever. And if the outer edge is sort of like regular human appearance as like the most normal regular thing, and the top of the graph as most normal, comforting, regular looking thing, there's a giant dip into the opposite of the regular comforting human thing, when it's, a notch or two just before a regular looking human thing, where it's like it's human, but
not quite.
Not quite. And so I think a lot of dolls fall into that, what you've, I think, alluded to with a lot of the Old Gods of Appalachia type of thing, with the a deer that is not a deer, a thing that is not quite a thing.
Familiar
and it is
yet unfamiliar.
Yeah. And it's the sort of thing that is not quite the thing that comprises the Uncanny Valley.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. The Uncanny Valley is essentially familiar yet not familiar, known yet unknown at the same time. It's the reason that it's so prevalent is because it deals with the feelings of uncertainty. And the uncertainty is where wariness steps in. This is, I don't know how to describe this concept. It's literally a concept podcast. It's literally just, let's get into what the uncanny is, how it affects our brain and our psychology, and why it might be a thing that we experience.
Okay, let's get into it.
So, the uncanny is the psychological experience of an event or thing that is unsettling in a way that feels oddly familiar rather than simply mysterious. So
it's not necessarily the dark thing looming in the woods, because, if there's a dark thing looming in the deep, dark woods, then the cloak of darkness in the deep, dark woods is the sort of eerie, scary thing.
Like, seeing a shark isn't uncanny.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have that, like, mysterious... Like, it's... Like, yes, the deep dark thing in the woods is like, oh, ghostly and mysterious, but doesn't have that same uncanny feeling.
But if you only ever glimpse a fin as you're preparing for a deep sea dive, then that gets into uncanny, because you don't know how many. If you see the fin twice, is that two sharks? Is that one shark moving fast?
Yeah.
And that's what gets to in uncanny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so fun. It's used to describe incidents where a familiar entity is encountered in a frightening, eerie, or taboo context. So like you were saying, there's two fins. We don't know if this is a normal shark or if this is... I think a good example of it is also that movie... what's the movie? Annihilation. Okay. The movie Annihilation. Have you heard of it?
No.
It's like a science fiction horror.
Okay.
And it's basically like they enter the a world or like a place in the world where all these weird funky things are happening, and it's like a bear that's not quite a bear, a deer that's not quite a deer, that kind of stuff. Like everything's kind of been morphed. So even though we as viewers see a bear, it looks so morphed and uncanny that it's like no longer a bear. Uncanny describes that which unsettles us. Technically, that's the uncanny, and then there's the uncanny valley. So the uncanny valley is it's basically the extent in which a humanoid entity can resemble an actual human.
Okay.
And what that emotional response, like the emotional response to that entity looks like.
Okay.
So there's the uncanny, which is the familiar, which is then unfamiliar.
Yeah.
And then there's uncanny valley theory, which specifically talks about human and non-human like features.
Yeah. And if I recall correctly, the uncanny valley where things dip into the super uncanny is specifically when it comes to human but not quite human.
Exactly.
Because, humans, we have to recognize each other.
Yep.
And it's that dip right before you get into like regular human stuff.
I, in college, did so much deep diving and research into the uncanny valley. That was my research paper topic on my like senior year
thesis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be fair, it wasn't like a huge thesis or anything. It was not like a 30-page thing or whatever. It was just like maybe 13 or 14 pages. But it was essentially about the uncanny. And it was in E.T.A. Hoffman's The Sandman. Have you read that?
I have not.
Okay. So it's E.T.A. Hoffman's Sandman and the uncanny. And therefore, I had to do research about the uncanny. And a big source of my research was Freud, Sigmund Freud. I'm assuming everyone knows who Sigmund Freud is.
He's one of the early psychologists.
Yes.
And being an early psychologist, people, I think, have to study him, but
with a grain of salt.
Grains of salt of time and place, and also lots of things have been debunked or at least, like, clarified.
Yeah.
A whole lot.
He was an Austrian neurologist.
Okay.
He was the father of psychoanalysis and a sociologist, medical doctor, psychologist, and basically just influential thinker of early 20th century.
Okay.
So in 1919, he published an essay called, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it in German, but basically it's literally called The Uncanny.
Okay.
And it explores what the uncanny is, how it relates to our psychology, and what gives us this uncanny feeling. Okay, so this is a direct quote. The uncanny would always be that in which one does not know where one is, as it were. The better orientated in his environment a person is, the less readily will he get the impression of something uncanny in regard to the objects and events in it. So, familiar, unfamiliar.
Yeah. If you're in your own apartment versus deep sea diving, you're less likely to feel uncanniness in your own apartment versus not. Versus the deep sea diving.
Sigmund Freud's essay describes exactly what this word means, how it makes people feel. It is a fear that stems from a psychological uneasiness at the sight of certain triggers, such as uncertainty, automatons, epilepsy, insanity, and the blurred lines of fiction and reality.
Okay.
That's a direct quote from my essay. I put C Ortiz 2016.
But that vaguely reminds me of this one Reddit story where, not the guy with the lamp one, but one where OP is like living with roommates in like a college apartment kind of thing, and it's like a 3-bedroom place, and they have this distinct memory of, they have a closet and one of the other rooms they have a closet and bathroom, one of the other rooms has a closet and bathroom, and the third one just has a closet, or like just has a bathroom or something like that. And whichever one was missing, like that third roommate was like, or whatever. Like
Okay.
how they have all these distinct memories of the roommate throwing a fit about it. And they go away for a weekend. They leave all of their sort of out of season stuff in the hall closet, as opposed to wherever, or in one of the closets, in their own closet, the hall closet, whatever. And then they come back, and whatever closet they had left it in, it's not there. They ask the roommates, like, what's the deal with my closet, my out of season, whatever. And both the roommates are like, what are you talking about? Like, that's not a thing.
You
That's
don't
never
have
been a
a
thing.
closet.
Turns out they had a brain tumor. And apparently that was what was affecting everything. And the roommates were right that the closet situation as they came back was always the correct closet situation.
Oh, that's terrifying.
But the other sort of terrifying thing is, where did the out of season stuff go?
Yeah. Did you just like toss it
Yeah.
out the window or something?
Yeah. But yeah, that's just what that reminded me of.
Yeah. Before I chose Uncanny Valley, I was researching deja vu. I decided not to deja vu because to make it a cohesive podcast, it feels a lot like, oh, let me tell you about this dream I had, which is not very interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I love the concept of deja vu, but I don't think it's enough to like fill up a whole topic.
Yeah.
But I did learn that deja vu, very vivid deja vu, is sometimes associated with epilepsy.
Huh.
And if you have constant, very vivid deja vu, you should get checked out by a doctor.
Okay.
I mean, like, deja vu is normal. Like 75% people, or 70 or 90% or something experience it, but it might also be,
Yeah.
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 Not
Cool.
sorry to any hypochondriacs out there.
Anyway,
Anyway.
so yeah.
Back to the uncanny. But that just reminded me of that because you said the brain tumor.
Yeah.
Freud also applies the uncanny to, like we were saying before, the uncanny valley is humanoid versus not human. He also applies this to things, like he talks about it in the essay, talks about things like dolls and wax figures, because they didn't have robots back then, and automatons.
Yeah.
He said, a particularly favorable condition for awakening uncanny sensations is created when there is an intellectual uncertainty whether an object is alive or not, and whether an inanimate object becomes too much like an animate one. And basically, we get the uncanny feeling when we see something that's almost human but not quite human, because we don't know if it's alive and or if it has a soul. You know? Like you see a doll that's a little too
well
lifelike.
painted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, like those real life dolls or whatever they're called, the little baby dolls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if they're almost uncanny. They can be uncanny if they're not done, because some of them literally just look real.
Yeah.
But if it's also something off about it because they don't like move.
Yeah.
You know, they look like a real baby, but they're not a real baby.
Yeah.
So then it's that weird cognitive dissonance going on in your brain.
Yeah. And that's where the uncanny valley lies.
Exactly. Yeah. And then he also said, this was more a quote of another philosopher that he was quoting who was also talking about the uncanny valley. But basically, there's an uncanny effect of like epileptic seizures and manifestations of insanity because person moves in almost like an unnatural or mechanical sense, which then also triggers that like automaton viewing response.
Yeah.
Which is
spooky.
So, according to Freud, this is also from my essay. According to Freud, uncanniness occurs in two ways. When repressed childhood fears are once again presented in adult life. Freud loved that.
Yeah.
And when the, quote, primitive beliefs we have surmounted seem once more to be confirmed. That is to say that at one point, mankind believed wholeheartedly in superstitions, magic, things people have now deemed impossible or fake. And yet, when faced with something that supports these old beliefs, an uncanny feeling emerges as if the mind is saying these things are possible after all. Once again, direct quote from me. I was rereading my essay and I was like, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah, no kidding.
We're going to talk about Masahiro Mori. He is the one that popularized the Uncanny Valley theory. So that was the Uncanny, and now Uncanny Valley theory is concept. He was a Japanese roboticist.
Oh, is that why I have the image of like a graph that goes like zoop and then back up in my head? Okay.
So there's the Japanese roboticist Masahiro Mori, who first introduced the concept of the Uncanny Valley theory in 1970.
Okay.
From his book titled, I'm sorry, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Bukimi no Tani, which is literally the Uncanny Valley. Bukimi no Tani Gensho is the Uncanny Valley phenomenon.
Okay.
Which is what he called it.
Okay.
It's a graph of how we see robots, which is what
I
you
was
were
thinking,
talking about. So in his original hypothesis, Mori held that basically the more a robot resembles an actual human, the more empathetic and positive the emotional response is from the observer. Think of like, have you seen Big Hero 6?
No, but I've seen enough.
Robot,
yeah.
It's like humanoid, but it's like cute.
Yeah.
And we empathize with it because it looks kind of like us.
Yeah. But it's, as I recall, it's got, 2 arms, a torso, and 2 legs, but
and then it has just these big old eyes, and that's it.
But it's sort of like, it's very rounded. It's very, like if you put a silhouette of a regular human and a silhouette of Big Hero 6, it would be straight away identifiable which one is which.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like very obviously not human, but it's like cutesy enough, like human enough sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then also I'm just thinking of like humans tend to gravitate towards things that remind us of ourselves. Just so I could totally see it being like, oh, it resembles kind of a human. It has little arms or little, face or something, and we like it.
Yeah.
However, we find it endearing until the resemblance reaches a certain point.
Yeah.
And at that point, the positive response turns into like revulsion and fear. And then, as the robot's appearance continues to become even more human, the positive emotions return and the level of empathy approaches the level seen in interactions with human beings. So that's when you get to a point where you can't even distinguish the fake from the real, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And so like video game characters that look so real that they could basically just be actors in a movie.
Yeah.
And like sometimes that's uncanny because but I've also seen some that are like, oh, that just looks like a movie.
Yeah.
So then you
don't
think.
I remember when a few newer-ish Star Wars movies were coming out and they needed, and they like body doubled Carrie Fisher and I think one other person for like 2 lines, but it was still like.
I think it was Mark Hamill, right?
No,
like young version.
Mark Hamill's still around.
I know, but they did didn't they do a younger version of him for one of the movies?
Don't know. I think it was for sure. I mean, I remember for sure it was. You know what it was? It was Carrie Fisher and one of the Sith generals. Because the original actor had also died, but it was Carrie Fisher's daughter bodily doubling in and then they like AI'd Carrie Fisher's face onto her daughter's body to like, because it was the one that ends literally like 30 seconds before New Hope starts.
That's that's Rogue One.
Anyway, so
what are we talking about?
We got there because I thought that them AIing Carrie Fisher's face onto her kid's body felt a little Uncanny Valley to me.
No, it always does.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like and that is an uncanny thing, like when they CGI actors to maybe like it look younger.
Yeah.
Or something, or look older instead of just using makeup or casting a different actor.
Yeah. Though I did see sort of the inverse / hilarious kind of thing for that. Like somebody had seen Jurassic Park for the first time and we're like, with the close up with the T-Rex going right up to the car. And they're like, oh my God, the CGI for this bit is so cool and blah, blah, blah. It's like,
it's practical effects.
Yeah. It's like, that's a practical, like you don't have to CG if it's right there.
Bring back practical effects. I know they're technically not money saving, but
They're
they
not,
look better.
Yeah. So the thing is, they're not as cost effective, but it still has that thing in.
Well,
It's
that's the
so
thing.
much more.
Jurassic
Yeah.
Park was made in 1993,
Yeah.
and it still holds up.
Yeah.
Versus you see CGI from like even just like 2011, bad now.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, even if you think back to something like Lord of the Rings, where like I remember watching it semi recently, and you can kind of see that like Gollum's body isn't quite rendered super well until you think it's 2003 or 2000. Well, they're shooting it in like 2000 to 2001, and but I think
it also helps that they did do a lot of practical effects for that.
Yeah.
So
but then also just having Andy Serkis in the suit and shooting Andy Serkis with the suit, even just to have know where the light is supposed to hit on a body in this space. And like the only times where it didn't look quite right is when it didn't feel like when it looked like they were reflecting light onto Andy Serkis's real life ratios rather than Gollum's, who is a wafted out halfling. So tiny. Anyway, sorry.
No, but see, that's a good example of CGI is a prime example of Uncanny Valley.
Yes.
Because it's almost there and yet not quite.
Yes. Yeah.
The emotional revulsion from so we were talking about Mori's theory that it's you're cool with it and then suddenly it's not cool and then suddenly you're cool again.
Yeah.
So that little emotional revulsion that we have takes place in the Uncanny Valley between barely human and fully human. So at this stage, the robot, because that's what he's referring to, who looks almost human, and it's like it just feels strange, and it makes the observer feel a sense of uneasiness and revulsion. So like the features are just a little proportionate. They're a little off. They're not quite there. You've seen images or videos of like robots with their skin's just the wrong texture or their mouth just doesn't move quite the right way. And it's just So some examples: realistic robots or androids that mimic human appearance and movement but aren't completely convincing. High-resolution video games or CGI in films where the characters look almost real but have unnatural movements, which is why the Andy Serkis thing worked. Because
Andy Serkis has to do his full motion decisions for all of that.
Exactly. Yeah. And lifelike dolls or mannequins that are almost human-looking. They can also cause Uncanny Valley effect. So what's happening to your brain during the Uncanny Valley experience? So there's cognitive processing. So this is, because I don't know science, this is straight from article because I would not have been able to put this in my own words. But so this is from a article called What is the Uncanny Valley and Why Does It Creep Us Out?
Okay.
From iMind Mental Health Solutions, published in 2024.
Cool.
So, cognitive processing. The primary cognitive process during an Uncanny Valley experience involves recognition of human-like features, followed by the detection of discrepancies. The fusiform face area, FFA, of the brain, which is specialized for facial recognition, is activated when we see a face or face-like structure. If the entity closely resembles a human but has subtle deviations, the brain works harder to reconcile these differences, leading to increased neural activity in areas involved in processing detailed visual inputs. So that's one thing that's happening. Another thing is error prediction and conflict resolution. The anterior cingulate cortex, ACC, a region of the brain associated with error detection, expectation conflicts, and decision-making, plays a crucial role. When there's a mismatch between expected human behavior and observed behavior, like awkward movements or unnatural expressions, the ACC signals that something is wrong, leading to a feeling of discomfort or unease.
Okay. So your brain is saying, okay, that looks like a human, and it's moving almost like a human, but
It's
your brain tries to fill in, okay, well, a human of this size and ratio should move like this, but when it doesn't move exactly like that, yeah,
exactly.
there's some sort of error there.
And then lastly, emotional and physiological responses. When we come across something that almost looks human, it can stimulate the amygdala, which is the area of our brain that handles our fear reactions.
Okay.
If this entity is disturbing enough, it could trigger our fight or flight response.
Okay.
Cortisol and adrenaline, stress hormones, flood our system. This can increase heart rate, cause sweating, and even provoke a strong urge to withdraw from the situation.
Okay.
So the steps are your cognitive processing, that you see something that looks human. You error predict and conflict resolution, that like it looks human, but it's not quite human, and it's something about it's unnatural, and that then triggers your fear response to be like, I don't want to be around this thing.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So there's different theories
Okay.
as to why the uncanny valley causes us discomfort. Like we say it's unnatural, it doesn't look human, and we get scared of it. But why do we get scared of it? We could literally just be like, oh, and it doesn't look human, and like not care.
Yeah.
So why do we care?
Yeah.
There's different theories. The first is what we were talking about just now. There's a cognitive dissonance. You see something, you expect it to act a certain way, and this expectation isn't met, and that can cause cognitive dissonance. So like it's a psychological response. Another reason that it can cause discomfort is because there's impaired empathy. So human interaction relies on facial expressions, the way our eyes move, body language, stuff like that. And if these cues aren't correct, or what we view as correct, it can impede our ability to empathize and connect with what we're looking at. So it can make it so that we struggle to interpret or relate to its behavior. So it's more of a social reaction because we see something that we expect to know what its verbal cue or facial cues mean, and then suddenly it's a robot who is not looking at us the way that we're expecting it to. And then this is where we start getting into the interesting stuff of why we understand that it's unsettling, but why? There is a hypothesis called the pathogen avoidance hypothesis.
Is this the one where like it's back when there was a lot of humanoids like Neanderthals and a bunch of other stuff, and
we're getting to that. Okay. This one is more of a disease avoidance.
Okay.
So, yes.
Are we thinking about like new bacteria, or are we thinking like you look like you have the flu?
So you're correct when you said the prehistoric humans.
Okay.
Because the theory is that this is a prehistoric like evolutionary response in order to keep us alive. Because you have diseases. It's basically a way to detect diseases. Think about when you're sick. Your skin changes color. Like you're haggard, there's mucus.
Oh, your voice sounds a little bit
different. Voice sounds different. Things change.
Yeah.
And in a time before medicine or doctors or germ theory, disease could sweep through a tribe or a group of humanoids and like wipe them out in days.
Yeah.
The hypothesis is that we evolved to see things that aren't quite right, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And avoid that so that we don't get disease.
Okay.
The cues such as,
your eyes or hair more bloodshot than they usually are. Go to the quarantine tent. Yeah.
Yeah. So unusual facial features, expressions, or movements due to an illness might have served as a biological alarm to keep a distance from potentially contagious threats. And hilariously, we might have received. Well, I'll get that later. I'll get to that later. So, but it's basically if something looks a little off or different, then don't go to it because it might bring harm to you or your little group. Because I don't know if they had tribes. It was like we were hominids, you know.
So don't hurt the in group.
Yeah.
Sort of a thing.
Which is, well, this is what I was like. We there's a theory that we got or not. I don't know. I don't know if it's a theory, but it's strongly thought that we got genital herpes from a other hominid species that we made it with like billions of years ago.
Okay.
So, whoops. And then also something that's, I don't know if it's technically part of the pathogen avoidance hypothesis, but it's definitely a disease avoidance hypothesis, is the corpse is the ultimate source of infection. So the corpse also looks human, not quite human. If you think about a dead body, it's usually bloated. It has different colors. It has like, maybe it has rigor mortis. It's kind of cold to the touch. The texture's different. And all of those give us an unsettling response because the corpse itself, a decaying body, has it can give you a lot of diseases.
Yeah.
So then the natural reaction would be stay away from it so that you don't get that. Yeah. Or especially during the prehistoric times, maybe you see something dead, maybe there's a predator nearby that killed it.
Oh, yeah.
So you also want to stay away from it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to get also killed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the pathogen avoidance hypothesis, which honestly I think is a pretty strong hypothesis for why the uncanny settles us, because, hey, that thing doesn't look quite right. Yeah. I'm going to stay away from it so that I don't get harmed from being near it. Yeah. And that's probably what helped keep humans alive for so long. Yeah. Think about, like, you know, people understood that disease runs rampant they didn't understand it well enough. But, you know, it's the whole, you take the dead body and you put it somewhere else. Yeah. Or you bury it underground.
Away from the water source and the in-group source and all of that.
Exactly. Yeah. And whether or not they thought it was like evil spirits or if it was disease, they knew that, you know, you dispose of it. Yeah. In order to stay safe. Yeah. And then there's the other theory, which is, I think, a really interesting one, which is the evolutionary safety mechanism. So,
is this the Neanderthal one?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is similar to the one that we just talked about because it's also prehistoric, but it's not just because, like, oh, you look different, so you might have disease, but it's also, oh, you look different, so you might kill me. It was almost like, it's basically a survival tactic, a warning system to recognize and fear other humanoid species. So Homo sapiens, which is what we evolved from, we're not the only species of human, or I guess hominid, Homo, whatever, erectus, that existed. There was in East and Africa and South Africa, there was Homo habilis, Homo rudolfinensis. I do not know how to pronounce half of these. I'm so sorry. In like Europe, Western and Central Asia, there were Neanderthals there and Denisovans. And also there were like there were just apes also who were similar enough, but still like walked on two legs and all, and were also very dangerous predators. Yeah. So all of these Homo gene, I don't know how to say it, but basically all of these hominids, they weren't just neighbors who lived in tribes near you. They were competition for resources. They first food for territory, and possibly could have just killed you for like sport or food or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Or
I don't know
for
how.
conflict over resources.
Yeah.
So not only could you die because they got the elk and not you, but they could also knock you over the head to stop you from
Getting more elk.
Yeah. Or getting to that elk in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the theory is because they looked human, but not quite our species of human.
Yeah.
You have to be able to recognize from a distance if that hominid group approaching you is Homo sapiens, who will be okay and friendly with you, or, Homo habilis, who might then kill you.
Yeah. Because likely in your geographical area, your in-group of Homo sapiens is likely the only in-group of Homo sapiens around.
Yeah. And also, from the Homo habilis' point of view, you are the uncanny valley.
Yeah.
Like, they would recognize you as different.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
It's also wild. Yeah.
And obviously, it's like this weird thing because we evolved alongside them, and then we also killed a lot of them, and then they also killed a lot of us because Homo sapiens were not the top of the food chain. But we also interbred with at least 3.
There's a bunch of people who are learning 23andMe that they have like 1% Neanderthal genes or something.
Yeah. We interbred with Neanderthals and the Denisovans. And then like a third one that I don't know if we know fully what it was.
Cool.
The theory is that the Uncanny Valley is a possible remnant of a prehistoric world where having this instinct would have kept you alive, which personally is kind of my favorite theory.
Yeah.
Because it's the whole, if we are afraid of the dark, we must have learned that it's something to be afraid of.
Yeah.
If we were afraid of the Uncanny Valley, of something that's human but isn't human, we must have learned that there was something to be afraid of. Oh, it's my favorite.
Yeah. All right.
So that's my very short.
Short, like this isn't the longest episode we've recorded in a while.
Short, like this isn't the longest episode, but short as in like there's no way for me to encompass how much the Uncanny Valley reaches. It's really one of those things that's a lot more visual than like you can think about, that's kind of weird, but if you really see the Uncanny Valley, like that's when you can get that fear response. And it's one of my favorites. Yeah, that's my...
So that's the Uncanny Valley.
That's the Uncanny Valley.
Yeah. All right. So anything else to discuss before we do the outro?
Unless you have anything to add.
I think that's it.
Go watch... I don't know. I'm trying to think of like movies that give Uncanny Valley, or like go look at YouTube videos of robots.
Yeah.
That aren't quite robots.
Yeah. Or go watch Lord of the Rings because that's a bomb. And then, sigh with the rest of us at Aragorn doing the thing.
Watch Jurassic Park and see how not Uncanny Valley it is.
Fun fact, I've never seen Jurassic Park.
My flex is that I was born the same year it came out.
Okay.
No, it's good. And it's technically, if you really think about it, it's kind of a horror. Because to me, it's horror because I hate the idea of animals like killing me.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
But with all that said, if you have an Uncanny movie or Uncanny Valley movie that you want us to watch on Patreon, send us an email, drearymidnightpodcast@gmail.com. Once we get those suggestions, I might stop being a weenie and actually watch a movie and do that. Subscribe to Patreon to watch that happen. Patreon.com/drearymidnight.
I'm going to say the witch by Robert Eggers, director.
You and
The
Alex
Witch.
mentioned that, I think.
It's it's like one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It also obviously it takes place during like Puritan, and it has a lot of like we're kind of into that colonial stuff.
Yeah. Well, so Puritans
It's
are
not
a very
it's
different time
it
period
is.
from early Federalists.
However, early America,
yeah,
it's just so I just love historical accuracy in like film fashion.
okay.
So The Witch does a really good job of that.
Okay.
But it also kind of delves into Uncanny in the sense of, I mean, you have to watch it to experience it, but like there are definitely characters who feel uncanny because they are acting in ways that aren't quote unquote normal for how they should be acting.
I am a weenie, so I'm not gonna do that unless I get paid. So, if more Patreon subscribers, I might just do that.
Yeah, let's watch The Witch, and then we can read my essay.
Okay.
From 2016 about it.
All right. Again, if you want to witness me watching a horror movie, pro tip, I'm a weenie. Again, patreon.com/drearymidnight. Follow us on Instagram at drearymidnightpod. And with all that said, be aware of things that are not quite what they are.
Oh, man.
And safe travels home on this dreary midnight. Good night.
Good night.